Okay, hello everyone. I will let people filter in for a little bit. But if you are one of our first 12 participants joining this afternoon, hello to you, or evening, depending on the time zone. Okay, perfect. Got my screen here. Hopefully that's coming through okay. All right, so welcome everyone to this, our second seasonal webinar, summer webinar. My name is Josh Donner. I'm a regional teacher trainer here from Macmillan Education, and it's my honor to be your host tonight. Many of us chiming in or tuning in from different places. If you could, hello, Sobia, hello to you in Pakistan. If you could just do a quick hello in the chat, if you'd like. Tell us where you're watching from today. And if you were here yesterday, we talked about the weather in our city. So let's change it up a little bit. It's almost dinner time, particularly if you're in the China time zone. We'll be done just before dinner. So maybe let's share what we had for lunch today. What did we have for lunch today? For my part, I am in Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam. And today for lunch, I had the leftover mushroom chicken that I made last night. So maybe we can share some regional delicacies if you feel comfortable sharing what you ate for lunch. Otherwise, just tell us where you are watching from. Hello, Mohammed. I was just in Jakarta recently. Lovely city. Hello. Hello to my fellow Vietnam inhabitant. Hello, Dad. Oh, very nice. We had bún chả at the office. I missed it. Bún chả is my favorite Vietnamese food. Okay, so let me get started here. I will introduce our webinar, although I'll see a little bit more about what we ate. Oh, I forgot. Yeah, so Pakistan's quite far before us, so it's still lunchtime around there. Hopefully everyone had a good lunch. Hello, Del. Welcome. Okay, so let's get started talking about today's webinar and our overall webinars, a little bit of housekeeping and what to expect for today. So welcome again, everyone, to our second webinar in our series for Where Challenges Meet Solutions, Calm in the Chaos, Practical Tools for the Reality of Everyday Classrooms. So a really practical focus for us here. If you had the pleasure of joining us yesterday, we had a great panel discussion where we focused in on modern teaching challenges, really what are teachers facing in the classes today, featuring three great panelists who shared a lot of great insights. So that was a wonderful start to our series. And today, well, I'll share with you what we'll do today in a little bit. But first, I'd like to talk about what is informing these webinars and our approach to professional development this year at Macmillan Asia. So this year, we've taken an approach of using 5 teaching gaps in order to inform how we plan our training and professional development. So let me go over these gaps with you. Before I do, I just want to highlight that these are informed by our feedback from teachers. So they're very much connected with what our teachers' biggest challenges right now. So let's go over the gaps. The first one is the time and resource gap. I'm sure all teachers in the room can relate. Sometimes it just doesn't feel like there's enough time in the day, whether it's related to lesson planning or grading or having the right resources for class. That's certainly something that is a big challenge for teachers. The second gap that we can focus in on is the skills and language gap. Now, this is more of a fundamental gap. It relates to things like vocabulary retention, or are they using the grammar that we've taught them? So really getting into the skills of the language itself. And are they being retained? Are they being used properly? Are the students able to perform the objectives from the class? The next gap, which came up in a very enlightening way yesterday, is the large mixed ability classroom gap. And the reason I mentioned it coming up yesterday is because there was a great insight that all classes, if they're more than one student, shout out to Amir, are mixed ability classes. So certainly having that adaptive approach to planning and teaching our classes is very helpful. But of course, teachers of large classes know that there may be disparate skill levels, disparate learning styles in a class, and this gap really helps us to, or addresses how we can teach for everyone universally. Also, the motivation and engagement gap. This seems to be one that really resonates quite strongly, maybe the most strongly with teachers, particularly for young learners, developing that engagement early in the lesson to kind of carry them through. And I think we find as well that if the students are strongly engaged, then that can sort of address some other problems in class. Maybe like behavioral issues are kind of headed off if our students are already engaged and motivated to learn. And the final gap relates to confidence and exam success, particularly anxiety around exams. So building up the confidence with our students, but also balancing that with exam skills, all in service of reducing that anxiety to help our students both develop their confidence and to help them perform on exams. So to revisit, your feedback really matters because it is what informed us coming up with these gaps and will continue to inform the direction that we go with our professional development in the future. So thank you so much if you have provided us feedback or if you're even joining us tonight. It's really great because we really do rely on your feedback to point us in the right direction. One more important event that I would like to highlight is our New Voices event. So this is a great way where you can share from your ELT journey, from your teaching experience, anything that you feel would be beneficial for others to hear or something you would like to share. You can submit a short video and a short abstract to the link below, macmillanenglish.com/newvoices. And that will, the winning entries, we should say, will get a slot for speaking on our event day, which is on September 23rd, which I remember so clearly because that is my birthday. But my birthday is not the submission deadline. That is July 28th. So head to the link to learn more about our New Voices event. It's really a great way for us to hear from the community and engage with one another in a community of professional development and learning. Okay. Also, I'd like to highlight our social media. Please follow us there for any updates. We can see our Facebook, WeChat, and RedNote links here, so you can scan those to receive any updates on professional development, upcoming webinars, insights into our courseware, and etc. So please follow us there for any updates. Let me quickly recap what we've started off with in our webinars and where we are going. There we are. So yesterday, if you had the pleasure of joining us, as I've mentioned, we had our panel discussion focused on managing the chaos and looking at those top 3 challenges in today's classrooms. If you missed that, no worries. It will be posted onto our YouTube. The recording will. And if you are patiently awaiting your email with your certificate and goodie bag, that should be sent out within the week. Moving forward to tonight, we have the pleasure of watching a masterclass, a lesson planning masterclass hosted by Super. And I'll talk a little bit more about that before introducing her in a minute or so. But I don't want to steal her thunder and say too much, but it's from Fun to Focus, with a particular emphasis on balancing both those engagement generating activities and having them hone in on the skills, focus in on the skills. And eagle-eyed participants will see my face looking much more dapper than I am now for next week, where you can see the pattern here, fun to focus this week, and then focus to fun next week, where we will be talking about scaffolding from grammar activities to speaking confidently. So you can see the overarching theme here. So thank you for joining us tonight, and I hope that we see you next week as well. Also, you will receive a certificate for attending tonight, as well as the other events. So as I mentioned, those should be sent out within a week of the event. And they're sent along with a goodie bag of academic resources, things that were referenced during the webinars for you. So let's continue on to tonight, or this afternoon, depending on your time zone, where we have From Fun to Focus, staging pre-primary classes through dynamic planning. So Super is going to be using our Early Explorers courseware, and she will give us practical strategies to both build up that engagement and then channel that energy to really focusing in on the nitty-gritty of the class, the concepts, the rules, the vocabulary, things like that. So very excited to be joined by Super and all of you tonight. And I will turn it over to her. So hello, Super.
Yes, thank you very much, George, for the introduction. And thank you very much for joining us, everyone. So can you guys all hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Thank you very much. Yeah, I really like the 2 master class sessions, like from me and Josh. One is from fun to focus, the other one is from focus to fun, because I think it really represents the challenges teachers face in pre-primary and the primary stages. Slightly different, but we always need to think about the balance between fun and the focus, especially with the learning outcomes in our mind, right? So yeah, let me get started with my very first session.
Oh, one more thing I want to just add on. If you have any questions, please type them into either the question and answer function or the general chat, and we will catalog those and visit the questions at the end. Okay, sorry about that. Thank you, Super.
You're welcome. So I will get my screen sharing with you first. Okay, so hopefully everything's working. Yes. Okay, yeah, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Nice to see you again. Or maybe this is the first time for you to join our lesson plan masterclass. This session is slightly different from the previous or the normal webinars we host. It's actually a lesson planning session where I will together go through a lesson planning process with you to show you how we can plan a lesson based on the student's profile, based on a course book, and together to tackle these challenges in the classroom, and also to think about the potential challenges teachers face in the classroom and thinking about solutions to address these potential challenges or difficulties as well. So welcome, welcome. Hopefully together we're going to create a very good lesson plan targeting the pre-primary, age group. But of course, these ideas, these activities, these lesson planning skills will be applicable to different age groups as well, to primary, to slightly older age groups in your classroom. So first of all, let me get this question for you. Before we jump into the planning process, I'd like to understand your go-to activity because we know in the pre-primary classroom there could always be a lot of spontaneous things happening, right? Unexpected maybe time free time to feel or unexpected energy levels to manage. So I would like to know if you are facing an unexpected 10-minute gap between before you moving on to the next teaching segment, what is your go-to activity to maintain the classroom momentum? How to maintain the good atmosphere? How to keep the learning going if you have a 10-minute a gap? Feel free to choose from the ABCD options or type in the chat and tell us about your go-to activities. Yeah, for a quick, maybe 10-minute activity to fill the time in the classroom for pre-primary students. Okay. C, play a quick high energy game to burn off the energy. Okay, that's a very good option, right? But let us know what activity or what game you like most or works best for your students. And A and B, yes, videos will always be good to keep the students' attention, right? Or have a transition like a routine to make sure the students will be ready for the next activity. Yeah, good idea. For the young learners, Simon Says is a classic favorite. Okay, thank you, Josh, for sharing your ideas. Yes, Simon Says classic always will have a lot of fun and keep the energies there. And any other activities, if you have, feel free to share in the chat. Because this is something quite common, right? We would need to have a, a toolkit or a bank of activities for us to take something out immediately when we have a 10-minute or 5 minutes. When we see the energy is going up or going down, we need to have the right activity at hand to maintain the classroom momentum or manage the classroom energy level. So that is something pre-primary classrooms will require teachers to have that flexibility to have that a toolkit and activity banks to be flexible. Okay, so thank you very much for sharing. And when we go through the lesson planning process, I do welcome everyone to join us and share your ideas of your classroom and contribute to the lesson planning process with me. Okay, don't let me share my ideas only. Please, together, let's create a lesson plan with all the great ideas from teachers all around Asia or even all around other regions as well. Okay, so the whole session is, as Josh has mentioned, is to find solutions for the challenges. So today, my lesson plan would focus on the time resource gap and the motivation and engagement gap mainly. Yeah, we want to help the pre-primary teachers to have the resources to manage the time in the classroom and together to engage the students and motivate the students to learn in the classroom. Okay, so that is the key objective for us to plan the lessons together. Okay, and here is a quick profile for my class. So I made this up. So I even created a logo for my school as well, for my little language institution called Super English Academy, based in Shanghai, China. Yeah, hopefully, yeah, maybe when I'm old, I will have this Super English Academy as my retirement job. Yeah. But yeah, for now it's just like a fake one, but it's based on like real situations we usually see. So it's a pre-primary private language institution. My student is around 5 to 7 years old for this class. Yeah, they're usually kindergarten students. Sometimes we will have grade one student like from primary students as well. Yeah, it's always a variety of different age groups, different English levels because that's the reality, right? And for each class, I will have around 10 to 15 students. Yeah, it's not a very big size, but it's a very normal like size for a private language school to teach pre-primary students at this age group. The students are usually quite active, very high energy levels, but their English levels will vary. Yeah. Some of them have some exposure to English before they come to the school. Some of them have very limited like English proficiency or exposure before they come to the language center. And in general, they like to play. They interact or respond well with like play-based learning, and the learning outcome has to be like maintained because structured like guidance to maintain the focus to settle the students down for learning objectives, that is the key challenge actually there. So for teachers who teach this age group, they really won't need struggle with the time and resource at the same time to maintain the engagement and motivation. So teachers are looking for like high energy fun activities with like structured learning outcomes. Not only play for the sake of play, but play for the sake of learning. Learning while playing is the objective for these teachers to achieve. So that is the main challenges, and that is something I would like to address for the lesson plan today as well. So the focus for the curriculum of my lesson planning today is two like directions. One is phonics. I'm going to plan a phonics lesson first and then moving on to a story lesson. So these two lessons will be together for my lesson planning today. So it's usually, yeah, normal for pre-primary like course books to have phonics and the story lessons, right? So hopefully it will be applicable for most of your scenarios and your classroom settings as well. Okay, and my course book, I'm going to use the Early Explorers Level 2. So I have the book here. It's from Macmillan Education, and it's a brand new pre-primary course book. We published in 2026. So I'm going to use this as an example for teaching this student group and with this profile. Okay, but uh, even if you are not using this book, even if you're using other like pre-primary courses, or if you are developing your own like pre-primary courses, this could be a reference for you as well. Yeah, make sure I'm going to make sure it's transferable to all pre-primary settings. Okay, so that is the background about the class, okay, the profile of the class. And this is the book I'm going to use. Yeah, I'm using level two, by the way. Yeah, it's a three-level pre-primary course. So I'm taking the middle level as an example. And it's for pre-primary students aging from 4 to 7 years old. Yeah. And after thinking about the profile of the class and the student, I would like to check what's in your teacher's toolkit as well, because we're going to, yeah, think about what's available for you at the moment. And then with these things in mind, we can plan more dynamic lessons together. Okay, so I have a my teacher's toolkit. It's actually a box. Okay, it's not, yeah, it looks like this. So let me know what's in your teacher's toolkit. Yeah, let's see if there's something in common. When we teach pre-primary students, yeah, it's not always the book, right? It has to be a lot more, yeah, together with the book. So what's the most maybe useful tools you have in your teacher's toolkit? And let me know in the chat. Feel free to share what's in your box. So I will share one first. So this is my puppet. So it's a bunny, right? But you can have any other like puppet you have. The idea is you can put your hands in and have your puppet together with you to engage the young learners. Yeah. So this is my first tool. And I see Dell, you said crayons. Yes. We will have a lot of coloring or drawing activities for pre-primary students. So crayons or other like pens would be another option. So I have this box of color pens, which I can use for students to do any coloring or drawing activities. But you can have crayons or any other tools, pens. Yeah, that's available for you. And what else? Stickers from Astrid. Thank you very much for sharing. Yeah, stickers would be another good activity. We do have stickers from this course as well. So for students on the student book, we will have stickers for students to learn vocabulary. So the students will have stickers to put onto the vocabulary items. So that's very good. And origami papers. What does origami papers mean? Does it mean like different color papers? Yeah, let me know if you have more ideas about that. But also I will have a bell or any other instrument you have. Color papers. Yeah, thank you. So as I said, we can also have some musical instrument, a tambourine or a bell to make some sound for you to give students signals. So this is my McDonald bell. You can have any other like shakers or any other like musical instruments or strings. Yeah, if you have. The idea is to create different sounds, different like signals for students to pay attention to you when there is a need. Yeah. And also I will have some, yeah, like name cards with lollipop like stickers. So I can put them into a box or in a cup and take them out when I need to put students into groups or find students to do the activities. Yeah, to randomly pick students. Yeah, using these name cards. Also, I will have maybe a dice. Yeah, sometimes a dice could be a really good one. So this is a Macmillan dice we have. Yeah, something like that. Or maybe if you have activities playing with this, I'm not sure what's the English name of this tool, but it actually plays really good like games when we can use it to play phonics like activities or like some other vocabulary activities. We use it to we write different like phonics letters or sounds on it on different like sides of it and then use it to play different activities for practice. Hand puppet, shakers, flies, water. Yeah, I think that flies water is really, really good because you can use it to tap onto different like words or different flashcards, different like items, different objects, right? So these are all very, very good tools that teachers can use for pre-primary students. Yeah, you can have different like puppets. So this is my little horse. Yeah. So the idea is pre-primary teachers need to have a box of treasures for us to plan our lessons because we really need to verify the activities we do in the classroom to make sure the engagement for pre-primary learners are there. So for this lesson for like early explorers, we do have a toolkit. Yeah. Together with these props, these tools, we will have some lesson plans, course books, yeah, flashcards, of course, which are very, very common for teachers to use to teach the language. Of course, you have different markers or chalks and some crayons, pencils, or crafts materials, or a puppet or a bell or some other media, yeah, we will need some audios or videos as like multimedia content to engage the students. and the teacher's book as well. Yeah, so that is something we could consider to prepare before we plan our lessons for pre-primary students. Okay, so that is the toolkit. Hopefully, yeah, you will get some ideas of what to prepare for planning your lessons and adding more tools to your toolkit as you move on to pre-plan the lesson. Okay, and for the course book itself, because I'm using Early Explorers, right? So for your Early Explorer, it actually provides a very good like bank of resources for students and teachers. So for students, we don't only have the student book, we will have three different activity books. One is the normal activity book, the other two, one focuses on literacy and social emotional learning, the other one focuses on numeracy and STEM. So you will see there is a very strong focus on the development of early literacies, social emotional learning skills, numeracy skills, and the STEM skills, which is like more cross-curricular content for students to, yeah, practice. So with these three activity books at hand, teachers can always have extra optional activities to do in the classroom or after the school at home. And also the digital part is there. We have a gamified platform called Navio. So with the gamified platform, we could use the interactive whiteboard in the classroom to play games. Yeah, because it's gamified practice, right? To play games in the classroom, if the classroom setting allows, or ask students to do gamified practice after school as well. So that is it comes with the course. Yeah, it comes with this course, and it will be really helpful for teachers to, yeah, have a bank of resources. And for teachers, we not only have the teacher's book, this is the teacher's book, we also have very handy editable lesson plans and some other classroom materials like posters, flashcards, and puppets, and also the digital teachers platform called Me. So teacher will have extra resources to download from the Teachers Resources Center in the Me platform. So I will quickly show you the lesson plan here. So as you can see, while I'm planning my lessons, I will have this tool called the Editable Lesson Plans at hand as a starting point. So I have put my class profile here. Yeah, from Super English Academy. And I will have this unit lesson plan in a Word profile, starting from like lesson one all the way to lesson 10 as a unit. And each like lesson will have a detailed like lesson plan. So this is my where I start my lesson planning, because I have already got this editable lesson plan together with the course. So this is really, really helpful. You can think about having an editable lesson plan like this to create a lesson plan for your school, for your institution, as a starting point for teachers to develop their own like lesson plans. So this is more of a standard template for every teacher to plan their lessons further. But the starting point is really, really will really make the teacher's life much easier because I will really have a very clear guidance on how to structure the lesson, what activities I could play, and what resources are, and what are the learning objectives. Okay, so this is the editable lesson plan, which I am going to use later as well. And together, we will have three characters to accompany us to together discover, to explore, and to play and to communicate while we learn the language. So there will be Ruby the red panda, Macro the parrot, Brenda the butterfly, yeah, to accompany the young learners to learn the language together. So we will see Ruby, Macro, and Brenda very often in the course. Okay, so are you ready to discover, play, and communicate together with me? Yeah, are you ready to plan the lesson together with me with all these background information? If you're ready, let me know in the chat. Give me a thumb up or, yeah, give me a yes in the chat. Yes, okay. Okay, very good. So let's move on to the first lesson. So as I mentioned, I'm going to focus on the phonics and the story lesson. So it's from Early Explorers Level 2, Unit 6, Let's Eat. Okay, it's about food. Yeah, always a good topic to engage the young learners. So this lesson is the lesson 2 and the lesson 3 of the whole unit. So as you can see in lesson 1, we will have already introduced the vocabulary to the students, and then moving on to focus on the phonics and the story in lesson 2 and 3. And there will be two phonics and story lessons actually in each unit. So we will have multiple choices to expose students to phonics and stories to engage them. So I will focus on lesson 2 and lesson 3 in this lesson plan. Okay, so let's get started with the phonics lesson first. So the lesson page will look like this. Okay, so can you tell me what is the phonics like objective, the learning objective of phonics in this lesson? Can you identify what's the focus of the learning objectives of phonics knowledge here in this lesson? It's not very like obvious. It's a little bit different from other lessons. CVC from Mara, yes, it's one of the lesson objectives is the CVC blending. It's like three-letter words, yeah, consisting of a consonant, a vowel, and a consonant, right? What else? We do have the sounds, right? What are the sounds? Vowel sound. Yes, the three vowel sounds. The three actually the most common vowel sounds, right? It's the a, it sound. It's actually very difficult to differentiate these three sounds for Asian students. I don't know if you agree or not, especially with the differentiation between a and eh. I had a hard time differentiating them when I was a kid to pronounce like the difference between a and eh. So most of the students in Asia will have different difficulty recognizing these two sounds and differentiating them. So we really need to, yeah, put a lot of efforts or spend a lot of time for students to hear it, to notice it, to differentiate, and to produce it. Okay, so the lesson objectives for this phonics lesson, yeah, you've made it right. So we have to focus on the letters and the sounds, right? So to identify the letters and and relate them to the sounds the three vowel sounds. We also will recognize these three vowel sounds in the middle position of a CVC word. So that is the second the learning objective. We really need to ask the students to hear the vowel sound in a CVC word, yeah, to recognize the middle sound. And then we will have a chant for the students to practice and to sing, and also to blend the words with is sounds. Yeah, blend the CVC words with these three vowel sounds. So that is the key learning objective for the phonics lesson here. The key language here is definitely the three words here, bag, red, kid. And also we will have another word, cap. I will let you know. Yeah, you can see the macro, the carrot here. Macro, the carrot in the right bottom corner here. He's playing with some caps, right? So I will let you know cap is what the activity is. And we will have some key language structures like dad has a red bag. The kid can ask the man, can I have 10 tomatoes, please? Yeah, so that is the lesson objective and the key language we're going to focus on. Okay, so with the learning objectives in mind, let's move on to plan the lesson together. Okay, so before I jump into my lesson plan, I'd like to ask you if you are going to plan this lesson, how will you structure the whole lesson? How many maybe stages will you include in this lesson for phonics? And what are they? Yeah. Are you going to stage the lesson in maybe two, three, or four, or maybe even one? Yeah, let me know. How many stages like as a general like a structure, how many stages and how do you stage them, and how each stage will serve for different like objectives, purposes. Yeah, feel free to let me know in the chat how many stages will you put into this lesson plan. One or two or three or four? Two from prom. Josh, three. Diane, three. Very good. Yeah, there's no right or wrong answer here. The idea is each teacher will have different maybe different experience or different preferences. But I do like the idea, the number of three, and I believe in the power of three very much. It's always good to have three points, three stages, three activities. So the power of three actually will always work. So my lesson plan will actually have three stages, but it depends on the it depends on your scenario. You can always have different stages, but we can structure the lesson into a three-stage lesson structure as a loose structure. It doesn't have to be fixed into three, but we can start with a three-stage lesson plan structure as a framework to think about what to do and what to include. And each stage will serve for different purposes. So the first stage to warm up, to engage the students, to get the student to get them into the mood of learning phonics. The second stage would be the input and practice stage. Yeah, that is the body of the whole lesson, right? We want to teach the new sounds to the students and practice with them to make sure they will have these learning outcomes at the end of the lesson. And for stage three, it's more of a consolidation process. And if time allows, we can do some extensions. Yeah. So that is the closing part of the lesson. But with this stage, with these three stages, we can actually make the lesson like more dynamic. We have like high energy level activities to engage students. We will have like a focus time to learn the content and knowledge for the lesson, and we will have some time to cool down and to consolidate what we have learned. So this is a good starting point for us to plan our lessons. So let me know what would you like to include if we have these three stages? What would you like to do in stage one? What kind of warm-up activities do you have? Or if you are going to teach the sounds to the student, what kind of activities or different content you'd like to include in stage two? Or do you have any other extension ideas for stage three? So feel free to share your ideas in the chat about your ideas, about your lesson plans. Singing and dancing in stage one. Thank you for sharing, Nerd. Yeah, singing and dancing good for warm up, for engagement. Yes, great idea. Review with alphabet dance. We're thinking alike. Yeah, great minds thinking alike prom. Yes, we will have some alphabet routines as well. Yeah, maybe in stage one as well, right? Games? Yeah, games where which stage would you like to play games? And for what kind of purpose? We need to structure the games, right? We don't want to lose control by playing games all the time, but we really need to have game time from different time to time and to serve for different purposes. For example, for the practice stage, for stage two, we can play games to practice what's learned, or we can have games for extension if we have more time at the end, right? So it depends on what kind of purpose we're going to meet, what kind of oh, there is one, sorry, stage three, there's an E missing. Sorry, that's a typo. I should check to that. Yeah. But the idea is, yeah, we will have different activity ideas for different stages. So, for example, stage one we will have, but no, but you didn't mention about routines. Routines is something we would like to establish for all lessons. So I'm going to give you more ideas about routines. So opening routines together with an alphabet routine is always a good start for phonics lessons together we can play a warm-up activity to boost the energy to get the students like in a learning mode. And after that, yeah, there could be a settling activity to calm the students a little bit down before they transition to stage two to focus. So yeah, the highlighted activity there is something we could think about to add. Yeah, depending on the classroom like energy level. If the students are good to move on, you can just transition from like warm up to the stage two. But if you think the energy level is too high, if we want the students to settle down a little bit, we can have a settling like a transition there. For stage two, we definitely introduce the sounds. We can have some coloring activities. We can sing a chant together. We do some practice activities together. And we need to think about some extra practice activities as a flexible tool because sometimes the time, like if one activity is not working, we need to come up with another activity really quick, right? So we need to have two or three different activities at hand so that we can change from one to another really quick to, yeah, make sure the students are engaged. And for stage three, it's mainly for cooling down to make sure we have the students focus again to wrap up, to go through what's learned in the lesson, to consolidate the learning outcomes. And together, if we have extra time, we can do some extra activities or to focus on the activity book or the literacy or social emotional learning pad, yeah, as an optional like choice for the stage three. And for closing routines, yeah, before we end the lesson, there will be a ritual for everybody to say goodbye or to clean up. Yeah, so that is the whole structure I would like to put into my lesson plan. But remember, this is a loose structure. It's not a fixed structure. This is something we could consider to put into the lesson plan, but while we are delivering the lesson, it could always be more flexible. So if the opening routine uh, is working very well, we don't really need a warm up sometimes. If the classroom is like the energy level is not there, we probably need more warm up activities. Yeah, sometimes we don't have enough time, so the extra practice activities doesn't has to be there. We only focus on one activity for the practice. So in the real classroom, we need to be more flexible. But when we plan the lessons, we need to think about plan B, plan C. We need to have optional activities or extra activities, yeah, in the lesson plan so that the teachers will feel confident whenever the lesson is going to be, the classroom is going to be. We will always have a plan. Okay, so let's jump into stage one here. So for stage one, yeah, there's a lot of text, but don't worry, I will give you time to read, and also we will have them on the next slides as well. So the idea for stage one is to activate prior knowledge, to build routine confidence, to settle the students into the learning mode, to help them to get into the English mode as well, because they're having an English lesson with you, right? We need to have them feeling comfortable, yeah, gradually moving into the learning. So we start with some opening routines to create a safe and yeah, to establish a sense of security and predictability. Yeah, we will have the alphabet routine to have the students to know, okay, this is a phonics lesson. We're going to learn the letters and sounds. And also we will have the warm up to, yeah, help the students to be engaged, to release their energy, to also review and activate their prior knowledge. And if necessary, we need to have a settling activity to transition the student from stage one to stage two. So that is the whole picture of stage one. And let's take a look at the opening routine here. Yeah. So opening routines could be very simple because it's a predictable routine, right? The students will feel comfortable and familiar with the opening routine. So the opening routine could have different like ideas like a hello song or any other like opening routines you have used in your classroom, feel free to share. Hi, Peter. Yeah, what's your like opening routine? Let me know in the chat. So for my lesson for the opening routines, I would always think about these routines, like a hello song, a days of week routine, a weather routine, or a colors routine. So the idea is these routines will be easy and predictable for my students. Yeah, they will feel comfortable. Feelings check-in, Josh. Yeah, very good. Like feelings of the day, like routine. The idea is we always start with something the students are familiar with and also give them an opportunity to build the connection with you. Yeah, before you jump into the teaching of the content, month of the year, yes, days of the week, or like a season of the year, weather, colors, yeah, something that we introduced from the beginning of the term. We introduce them like one by one. We choose one of them in a lesson. We don't do all of them like in one lesson. We can choose one for each lesson and the switch from these 4 or 5 opening routines. Yeah. So the idea is to create them, to make them like familiar for your students, to ask them to sit in a circle, yeah, if possible, because it will create a more comfortable environment for the students to get started with the lesson, and also to focus their attention on you as the teacher to help them to build up these routines. Okay, and for the next routine, because this is a phonics lesson, right? So I want to help the students to remember the alphabet, the letters, or the sounds they have learned before. So we could always have this alphabet song as in like an opening routine for the phonics lesson. So you can play any phonics songs or animations or videos you have. The idea is to repeat it every time before you start the phonics lesson to use it as a familiar anchor activity that boosts the students' confidence in all phonics lessons. Yeah. So I'll give you a quick, yeah, look at the phonics videos we have from early explorers.
A, B, C, D, E, F.
Yeah, it's the classic alphabet song. Yeah, you can use any other phonics alphabet songs you have. Yeah, the idea is to focus their attention on the alphabet, on the letters. So for early explorers, we will introduce like letters like gradually from level 1 all the way to level 2. So in level 2, we will already have learned some letters and the sounds representing these letters. So it's good to review the alphabet like before we jump into the new content. And also you can play a warm up. Oh, sorry. So this is an explanation about how you can build up routines. The idea is you introduce the routines very consistently from the first day of your lessons, give very clear instructions, use visual cues or routine songs. So routine songs would be good because whenever you play that routine songs, your students will have the idea of what to do, and it's a good like a model to demonstrate the steps. Yeah, and I will show you some routine songs in my lesson planning as well. So feel free to yeah take these routine songs for your lesson planning ideas, and also give positive reinforcement when you are setting up these routines to repeat to make sure the consistency is there. Otherwise, your students will not be familiar with the routines. So introducing routines one by one, don't rush, don't yeah introducing too many routines in one lesson. So introducing one by one and building up and repeat them yeah as much as you can. So after these opening routines and alphabet routines, we can do a warm-up activity to even focus more on what's going to be learned about the sounds. So after singing the alphabet song, the students will have a quick idea about A, B, C, D, E, F, G. But for phonics learning, the students are going to focus on the sounds, right? Not the alphabet itself only, but also the sounds that related to these alphabet letters. So this warm-up activity for the phonics lesson could be a physical movement or energy, like energetic songs that to release like energy or boost the students' dopamine levels to make the students ready for the sounds and the letters, and also to review or activate prior knowledge. You can use an alphabet poster. Yeah, you can put these posters on your blackboard or on the wall to use these posters every time you want to review the sounds or the prior like knowledge you have the students have learned, or you can play a game called the alphabet poster race to make it more energetic for the students to warm up. So you display this poster, you divide the students into two or even more groups, yeah, and you ask them to stand in different groups in lines, and you can say the sound or say the letters or say a word depending on what's been learned before, right? Maybe the students have learned the A letter and the A sound before, so you can use the A letter or A or apple. So you, depending on how good your students are, you can use different like prompts to engage to challenge the students. So you say the sound or say the letters or say the word, and the students are going to raise to reach to touch the letter on the poster. So the idea is to practice the students' recognition of the sound or the letters representing the sounds, and make sure the prior knowledge will be activated, and the students will have fun together. So you can understand how the students, where the students are, whether they have the prior knowledge activated or whether they're ready to learn new sounds or not. Yeah. So this is the warm-up activity, basically to boost the energy together to review the previous knowledge. Mhm. If you have any other good ideas for warm-up activities of the like the phonics lesson, feel free to share in the chat as well. Yeah, good warm-up activities for phonics. And after the warm-up, it's time to transit, right? Transition to the stage two. So if you find the energy level is manageable, you can just jump to stage two. But if you find your students are a little bit too excited, too like noisy, it's hard to control them, to ask them to sit down to focus on the book or yourself. You could do a like settling activity. The idea is, yeah, to bridge the to lower the energy level a little bit after the warm up to prepare your students to, yeah, get ready. So it could be you can play a like low fee music or softly using your musical instrument to, yeah, gradually take your students to take some breathe as they walk around the classroom, or you can ask them to do some stretchings, yeah, to like do some yoga like gestures, to ask them to reach the ceilings as they breathe, or open their arms as they breathe in and breathe out. So different kinds of settling activities as suggested here on the slide. The idea is if you find that the energy level is not manageable, it's good to settle down before you ask your students to move on directly from warm up. Okay. After the energy level has been controlled, we can move on to stage two to have the input and to do the practice of the sounds. So in this stage, we're going to introduce the new, yeah, knowledge, new concepts, and provide multi-sensory practice opportunities. Yeah. And they help the students to learn the new sounds, to have opportunities to practice and have fun as well. So as you can see, we will have the five activities here. You can do the introducing the sounds first, using visuals, using audios, using flashcards, using real like real objects. Yeah, and also we will have a coloring activity so that the students can have different like types of activity to focus on the target language. And also a song, a chant will definitely be there to practice the phonics. Yeah, the blending, the sounds, and also to have fun. So there will be more practice. Depending on the time you have, we can have some activities to practice sounds, to have guided like application to play different like activities and games to apply the sounds and the blending. Also, you can have some flexible activities at hand to fill the time or to, yeah, switch from one activity to another when it's not working. Okay, so that is the idea for stage two. Let's have a look at each activity here. So for introducing the sounds, we could always follow this like a process. So whenever there is a phonics lesson, we could think about show, elicit, demonstrate, vary repetition, notice, practice, appraise, and review. So this is a good like circle to follow. We could always do these like do the process, like repeat the process whenever we teach a new sound. So we use flashcards. We use flashcards to show, to give visual cues to the students to introduce the new sounds. We elicit the students to repeat the sounds, and we demonstrate the sounds as a teacher, and we use different activities to do varied repetition. Yeah, the students need to recognize the sounds in different ways and to practice the sounds in different ways as well, to notice the sounds. And with positive reinforcement and review, so we move on to the next. So this is how we can teach the phonics letters effectively. Yeah, use visuals and auditory input to present new phonics rules or vocabularies. So let's take a look at this lesson focus. So we have already know the focus of the lesson of this phonics lesson, right? So what are they? What are they? We have, let's hear the sound here.
Bag. Ah,
Bag,
ah. Bag. Red. Bag. Ah, ah. Bag. Red. Eh.
So the audio will clearly demonstrate like how and are different sounds and giving exposure to students to recognize the sounds in these three words. So we can introduce the words in with flashcards first to help the students to get familiar with these three words and then direct their attention to the three vowel sounds. Yeah, to help them to notice different sounds. So this is how we introduce them first. And
Bag. Ah,
after introducing the first round, we could use a scene to help the students to recognize more like words in this scene, and also to repeat the sounds and the sounds and words together with the phonics like focus. So can you find and say the words with A and E? So not only maybe the three words you have learned, can you find more words with the sounds A, E? Yeah, try to find apple. Yes, very good. What else? We also have got men. Yes, very good. What else? Kid. Yes, very good. Carrot. Yes, and we also have arm. Yeah, Diane, very good, good catch. Arm. And we also have banana, right? Banana is a little bit hard, although, because it's not a CVC word, right? It's a little bit more challenging for students to recognize the sound. So it's a challenging part, but yeah, very good. We have got like a scene for students to recognize more words together to practice the sounds. Yeah, there will be different ways to teach the sounds or introduce or identify the sounds here together with the audio as well. So here's a quick audio for you.
ah. Bag.
Yeah, so the idea is to repeat and repeat the sound in different ways. And after these two rounds of introducing the sounds, introducing the words, to do the eliciting, the demonstrating, the repeating, and then also the noticing as well. we will move on to a more activity focused on the fine motor skills together to reinforce the cognitive ideas of the sounds. And also this activity allows for individual pacing because when students do the coloring activity, they can take their own pace, but while still keep their hands busy and their minds focused on the target language. So we can direct the students to color the bag red, color the bag red. We can do a demo on the blackboard for the students and then have students to color their bag in red with their crayons. And we can invite students to do on the blackboard as well. So different students can take their own pace to do the coloring. Yeah, to switch the activity a little bit from sounds and words to coloring with their hands. And also, we will follow follow this with a chant for them to focus on focus on the sounds again. So as you can see, we will have a chant. So it's always good to have phonics chants to practice the sounds, right? To reinforce the the sounds learning. So for this phonics lesson in Early Explorers, we will have a chant to aid the students' memory about the sounds and help them with the pronunciation and the intonation in a very fun and low pressure way. So the students can chant together first, and we can direct the students to chant differently.
Market day.
So let's hear the chant first.
Market Day! Market Day! We are at the market. Dad has a red bag. The kid can ask the man.
So the chant is very in very good rhythm, right? It takes a very good pace for the students to follow, and it's kind of like rapping, yeah. So the students can take the rhythm. We can ask them to clap along in the first round. We can ask them to point to the items in the picture when they hear in the chant for the first round. We don't ask them to follow from the very beginning. We ask them to follow the rhythm, yeah, to enjoy the chant first, to point to the items they hear in the chant, to check comprehension, to check if they can hear or notice the word, the sounds. And then in the second round, you can play the track again. You can ask them to follow line by line. Yeah, line by line, not the whole chant all at the same time. So we can guide them to listen to each chant, to follow along line by line, and to listen and repeat. And after a few times, we can pick a word or have students to clap and touch the picture on the page to check understanding again, to make sure they can hear the sound, they can recognize the word by hearing it and point to the right items. So yeah, differentiate the way how you introduce the sound, the chant to the students, starting from low pressure activities, asking them to respond to you first before they produce the sound or sing along with the chant. And check comprehension, check understanding always when you play the sound, for the first time, second time, third time, and allow more time if the students can't follow. You can always give more opportunities for students to hear it, to respond to it, and to practice it. Yeah.
10.
Okay. That's the chant part. And after chanting, there is another activity that we can always do, and you can take it for your phonics lessons as well. So this is the practice part. It's a good activity actually with macro. So as you can see macro here, what is macro playing making words with? What's the small item there? Can you recognize it? So it's a cap, like a bottle cap that we can take from any bottles we have. The idea is we can make a phonics activity with these caps. So you might collect different caps like maybe 7 or 10 of them, and you write a letter on these caps to put them together in a box and ask the students to choose the letters or the sounds, yeah, to form a CVC word. The idea is Macro will be there to model this activity for the students. So the Macro, let's hear what Macro says here.
C A P. Cap. I can make words with caps.
So introducing CAP, or ask students to pick CAP from your box, the caps from your box with CAP in the box, and check if they can recognize the sounds, and then ask them to make their own words by choosing different caps in the box. Yeah, they can make it like a red, bag, kid. They can also make more words like a man or like a apple. Yeah. So the idea is we create a box of caps with different letters on each cap, so the students can play with it as a practice activity for phonics practicing. And together with macro or with other puppet or in groups, in pairs, in a classroom, yeah, you can play it in different settings. Yeah, ask the students to create their own caps if possible, if you have time. Yeah, create different opportunities for varied practice here. Okay, so that is the macro, the parrot activity where we will always have in the phonics lessons. Yeah, introducing different activities. So in this lesson, it's the cap activity. We will have different activities in different lessons here. And if you find the caps activity is not working very well, if sometimes your students don't like the caps, yeah, we can have different activities as backups. So when you are planning your practice activities, think about different ones. So for early explorers, the good idea is in the teacher's book, there is a activity bank for literacy and phonics. Yeah, so when you plan your phonics lessons, check the different activity ideas and have like at least 2 or 3 of them as backups. So you can have different like reviewing activities. You can have some spatial and direction like activities to have them like move their bodies. And also you will have some auditory discrimination activities to focus on the sounds, the words, to notice it. So make sure you have 1 or 2 as a backup. And when you plan your lessons, always have plan B and C for these practice activities. And you can choose from different activities for different phonics lessons to engage your students for different repetition. So that is stage 2, pretty much very focused on the input and the practice. Yeah, using like flashcards, coloring activities, chants, and also some like cap activities or other activities here you can choose. Yeah, to repeat the sounds in varied ways. And after the stage 2, we will move on to stage 3. So for stage 3, the main idea is to consolidate, and if time allows, we do some extensions, right? So it's really to wind down the energy a little bit to extend on the students' literacy skills, what they have learned in the stage 2. So we can have a cool down activity to help the students to cool down a little bit, to reflect what they have learned, to apply what they have learned, and to give them opportunities to wrap up the whole lesson. And if time is there, you can have some extra practice to do as a time filler. And there are some optional books that you can use if you have an activity book, or if you have other worksheets you can work on phonics lessons. There will be time. You can do it in stage 3. And at the end, you will have the closing routines. So as we can see here, for cool down, we can play a low energy activity, to help the students to focus on the learning of the lesson and also to practice and apply what they have learned. So the cap activity could be one, right? But we can also play a like vowel sound toss activity. So this toss activity will help the students to check their learning and apply their learning of the three vowel sounds or together with other vowel sounds learned previously. So you can see you can put a letter like a mat on the ground, or you can have different like flashcards for the vowel sounds, or even you can have a box. Yeah, box for different like consonant sounds and vowel sounds. Yeah, for the students to do the application. So for the vowel sound toss, you can have these letters on the board and then have your student to come to the front and hand them a bean bag. Yeah, bean bag could be a good tool as well in your toolbox. So for the students to recognize the sounds in a CVC word, so you sound out a CVC word like bag and ask them to throw the bean bag to the vowel sound on the board. Yeah, and they will hit the right word if they can notice the sound in the CVC word, the vowel sound in the CVC word, like pen, bag, or kid. Yeah. So the idea is to cool them down while focusing on the application of the knowledge. Yeah, before they move on to the closing. Okay, so this is an idea of the cool down activity, but yeah, you can always have different activity ideas like the caps, like the bean bag, like the fly, the flatter. Yeah, so that always could be an option for teachers. And for time fillers, you can choose other activities from the activity bank or in your activity bank. And for the activity for the
Time to
sorry, these are the closing routines we can do for the end of the lesson. So for closing routines here, we could have oh sorry. So we could have a cleaning up routine or a goodbye song for the students before we end the lesson. So this is like a ritual for students to do like before they end the lessons, right? So routines are always good to set up the classroom like principles, to set up the classroom like procedures, to help your students to know what to do at what time. So the closing routines together with the opening routines will have these rituals for students to do. So you can after doing all the activities, you can ask your students to stop, to clean up, and to dance, and to say goodbye together. So I will show you a routine song here for the cleaning up routine, cleaning up song here as an example. So while you play this routine, clean up routine song, the students will, yeah, put everything together and sing. Ooh, ooh, ooh. It's not playing. Wait a minute. What's wrong with the audio here? Maybe I need to go back so that we can. So that's the goodbye song. And the cleaning up song is not playing. I don't know why, but yeah, you get the idea. You get the idea that the students will. I think I could play it here. No, no, okay. So don't worry. The idea is, yeah, you use these songs as a routine to guide the students to do what's expected for them to do. Yeah, at the closing part. And for activity book ideas, you can always use them as an optional. Yeah, for early explorers, we have the activity book for phonics booklet. They will have more opportunities to practice the sounds in the workbook, in the activity book. They will be able to read them, to sound out the letters, and also read a very short like reader with these sounds embedded in it. For the literacy and skills pad, yeah, more activities for early literacy skills like the tracing of the letters, the coloring of the bag, the decoration of the bag, yeah, for more creativity ideas. So this is something you could do as well in your classroom. If you want to create more extra practice for phonics lessons, you can think about these tracing activities, coloring activities, drawing activities, chanting activities, and also, yeah, a small, like a quick reader of the target sounds that has been learned in the lesson. Okay, so that is pretty much about the phonics lesson. I've spent quite a long time explaining the phonics lesson, but we will take it much quicker for the story lesson because you know the idea of how we structure a lesson, right? And how we put them into different stages and how each stage will serve for different purposes. So for the story lesson, it's going to be very much similar to the concept of the phonics lesson. The idea is we have different objectives here. So let's take a quick look at the story lesson here. So it's the next lesson after the phonics lesson. It's called Ruby Doesn't Waste Food. So the topic of the unit is food, right? The story will reinforce the vocabulary of the food vocabulary, and it will introduce a value as well. So can you identify the value from this story? Can you tell me what's the value behind this story here? Have a quick read of the story. I like oranges and grapes. Oh, I'm sorry. So the monkey has dropped the fruits, right? I don't like these grapes now. Ruby, yes, Carmen, you're very right. Exactly. The value here is don't waste food. So the idea is we are introducing a value for the kid to cherish their food, don't waste food. We can always wash the food if it's not like too dirty. Yeah. So here is the lesson objectives for the story lesson. Yeah. To consolidate the vocabulary and the language learned in this unit, and also to learn the value. And the key language here will be these three, like fruit vocabulary and I like sentence structures, don't waste, let's eat. Yeah, these three language structures will be the key language. So with these lesson objectives in mind, let's quickly think about the structure of a story lesson. How many stages of a story lesson would you like to have? I think for story lessons, it's even more like common to have a three-stage like lesson plan, right? We have a pre-story, a while reading story, and a post-reading story. So that's a very common structure we could do for story lessons. So let's take a look at how I would like to structure this lesson for my students. So for any reading lessons or story lessons, you can always start with this structure, which is pre-reading, engagement, during reading, active learning, post-reading, reflection. Yeah, this is a very good framework for story or reading lessons. Even for a older like age group students, it will work. So we separate the lesson into three stages as a starting point, and then we think about what to do in each stage. So feel free to type in the chat and share your ideas for pre-reading, while reading, and post-reading activities. So the idea is to activate the students' knowledge and get them into the reading and the story in stage one. In stage two, it's like going through the reading with them, right? Teach the story to maybe role play the story a little bit to have the students to get input and also make some practice. And in stage three, it's probably the practice part, the production part for the students to reflect, to check their comprehensions, and also to extend a little bit and to reflect, to think about the values, to go beyond the story itself. So the idea is to, make sure we have the different stages in mind with different activity ideas. Yeah, together we will still have the routines. We will have the opening routines. We will have a story time routine for story lessons. Yeah, like the alphabet routine for phonics lessons, right? And for stage two, we will have specific activities to teach stories. So, for example, a picture work for this age group is a good way to introducing the stories. We can always think about some stirring activities to manage the energy level. Because sometimes when we ask the students to sit down, to read, to focus on the story, we will find them maybe a little bit. Sometimes they get bored, sometimes they become quiet, sometimes they have difficulty following your stories, they're losing their attention, their focus. So at that time, we might think about stirring the energy a little bit, yeah, to keep their energies higher, to increase their energy levels a little bit before they move on to acting out the story. And for the stage three, we could calm them down again because we want them to focus again after the role play. And then there will be some optional activities. For example, if you want them to focus, you can do some mindfulness moment activities. This is a very special activity in early explorers, and I will give you an example later, and some optional activities on the activity book or the literacy book as you want to before the cooling down or the closing routines. So you will find that the whole concept of the lesson structure would be very similar to the phonics lesson, but the idea is when we introduce stories, we will have different approaches compared to phonics. We will use different activities to engage students in the story lesson. Okay, so quickly going through the lesson plan with you. So for stage one, I think it's quite similar, right, to the phonics lesson. We open the lesson with some opening routines, with some opening routine songs. Yeah, you can choose maybe weather routine for the story lesson. Yeah, to focus the students on the weather or the color routine, depending on the focus you would like to have. And after the opening routine, we can do a warm up activity to get the students into the story and to review the vocabulary and the grammar or the language they have learned in previous lessons before they move on to read the story. So this is very helpful for students to help comprehend the story. So here is an example of a blanket activity where we can use flashcards or props on the floor to cover them with a blanket, to lift the blanket, to give students some time to look at the pictures or the objects and then cover them again, to take turns to say the pictures they see. So the idea is to review the vocabulary they have learned, right? But in a very interactive and fun way. Yeah, to activate the students' energy and their knowledge in the warm-up activity. And after that, after their knowledge has been activated, we can move on to the stage two. But the good thing is it's good to have a transition routine before we move on to the story. So the story time routine here in early explorers actually serves for this purpose. So it's a specific ritual. It's like the phonics, like alphabet song. The idea is we can create something special for the story, like reading time. We can put a special hat on, or we ask the students to sit in a circle facing maybe the big book you have in your classroom or the interactive whiteboard in your classroom to remind them, okay, now it's time to sit down to hear a story, to focus on the teacher and the screen or the book. Yeah, it's time to do the story. So here is a story time song to transition the students from warm up to story reading. Let's hear this example.
It's story time, come on. Hooray! It's story time, come on. Hooray! Choose your spot, let's all sit down. Listen up and gather round. Let's all get ready for story time.
Yeah, so this is kind of a transition song that we could use at the start of the story lesson to move on to a story reading time. And it's always good to play this song before all the story times and keep it as a routine and help the students to putting everything they are doing and then sitting on the table or moving onto a mat. Yeah, depending on your settings, help them to form that impression while when they hear the story time song, it's time to do something for the story time. Okay, so this is an example of a story time routine song that you can consider integrating into your lesson plan. And then when they're ready for the story reading, you can move on to stage two. So the stage two will start with picture work because it's always like picture stories in pre-primary like books. So we will preview and predict with the picture work together with the student to think about the story before they start reading. And then the teacher can read the story for the student or play the animation of the story to the students so that they can hear the story to follow the story and understanding the story. And after this, you will move on to the role play, the acting out the story, right? This is the output phase. But if you think it's necessary, you can add a stirring activity for energy management. So let's take a look at the picture work first. So the picture work here gives an opportunity for the students and teachers to focus on the visuals first. So we don't tell the students the story. We don't play the audio. We don't play the animation. It's only look at the visuals first to lower the cognitive like level for the students to read. So before they even get started for the reading, ask them to observe these pictures, follow the teachers to walk through these pictures, and the teachers will ask questions like what, who, and where. Yeah. So ask these simple questions for your students to focus on different things on the pictures. Yeah. For example, who's this? What's this? Where are they? What are they doing? Yeah. What color do you see? Yeah. What animals do you see? What fruit do you see? Yeah. Different kinds of like focus on the visuals will help the students to get familiar with the visuals before they hear the stories or before they read the stories. Well, like greatly lower their cognitive load before they actually do the reading part. And you can always walk through the pictures one by one, focus on maybe one scene, like with detailed questions, and help the students to observe and predict and have fun, yeah, guessing what's happening in the pictures. And after the picture work, you can introduce the stories with the bubbles. And also you can use different like as I think as Cameron said, use different emotions to read the story, use different volumes, yeah, louder or quiet. Or yeah, help the students to read the story like in different ways, different emotions, different intonations and expressions. And you can always play an animation for of the story to help the students to understand what's happening there. So it's good to have an animation here. So I will give you a quick example of the
Ruby
animation.
doesn't waste food. Ruby is at Chen's treehouse.
Hello, Chen.
So we will have the familiar characters in these animations. We will have Ruby, Macro, and Brenda together with their friends. Yeah, it will create a very good, fantastic, like fantasy world for the students to follow, to watch these animations, and to learn together with these characters. Yeah, help them to be familiar with the content and get a connection with these characters. Okay, so this is how you could introduce the story with a picture work and then the bubbles, the speech bubbles, and then the animation, yeah, step by step from lower cognitive level to slightly higher levels. And after
Ruby.
that, we can do some stirring activities if you think it's necessary. It's usually a high energy game or TPR game related to the story keywords. You can do some random activities or spontaneous activities that's related to the story, or you can just play a student's favorite song to dance and sing, or play some music instrument to have the energy released again. Yeah, and for role play, it's good to get the students' attention to the speech bubbles again. Yeah, and help the students to recognize the speech bubbles while you go through the stories with them. And the idea here is to model and model these speech bubbles for your students to ask them to practice together first Yeah, and then moving on to individual practice. So it's choral and individual repetition, like from like a group practice to individual practice, and moving on to the roles and ask the students to choose and the practice in groups and help them to personalize at the end. So this is how we could do a role play following this structure. Yeah, to help the students to go through the speech bubbles, to practice and to role play together and personalize. So that is how we could do the role play and help your students to use the audios and videos to help them to act out not only the sound, the pronunciation, the words, but also the actions, the playing, right? The acting, yeah, the facial expressions and the everything, yeah. Make sure the space is enough for them to do the role play, to work around, and to have these props to help the students to transit from passive listening to active language production, and allow maybe flexibility for the students to do these dialogues as well. Yeah, don't make it too strict with the language. The idea is to help them to have fun and to feel comfortable by acting the story out.
Ruby doesn't waste food.
Yeah, so that's the role play part. And by the end, we will have stage three. The idea is to cool down, to wrap up, to, yeah, do some optional extension activities on the activity book or literacy book. Yeah, I will give you a quick walkthrough of these ideas. So the cool down, the mindful moments or the cool down actually is a transition from the role play to stage three. So if your students are having fun and hard to focus and sit down, you can ask them to do these mindful moments activities, to breathe, to freeze, or to have fun while cooling down. So these are the activities
Let's
from
breathe.
early explorers with these
Put your
mindful
hands
songs.
on your belly. Breathe in. Feel your belly go up.
Yeah, so this kind of routines help teachers to manage the energy level, to set up these routines for your students to cool down, but at the same time to interact with Ruby, for example, here, and also to cool down a little bit. So for you can also do activities with the puppet, like Ruby the puppet. You can ask them to pass the Ruby puppet around while you play the story time song again. Have them to stop when you play the song, and have them to think about a word or an objective or a favorite part of the story when someone's holding the puppet when the track is done, stopped. And this is also a classic activity, yeah, passing around the puppet. But you can verify the way how the students respond. For example, they can say a word, they can say a sound, they can say a sentence, a dialogue, or they can just say a word that reminds them of the story. So what in different ways to help the students to remind what they have learned about the stories. Okay, so that is the cool down activity. So before you jump into the closing activity, if you have extra time, it's good to do the activity book. Yeah, to order the stories, for example, to do another activity to order the stories again to remind them what they have read about the story. Or you can do coloring, tracing activities again to focus on the grammar and vocabulary. And also you can do some tracing and phonics activities, social emotional activities, circle activities, as an extra like work for students to do before you end with the
Ready, set, go.
It's time to clean up.
that is the cleanup.
I like to play.
Okay, so it comes to the time for us to clean up and say goodbye as well. So thank you very much again for going through the whole lesson planning process with me. So I'm glad that I finished the two lesson planning with you together for phonics and story for pre-primary students with the three-stage lesson planning. And it's good to add different ideas and optional activities as you go through your lesson planning process. Hopefully these ideas will be helpful for you to, plan your own lessons. So the course I am using is called Early Explorers. Yeah. Hopefully you can find more if you're interested, you can find more information in the chat. We have a link there. Yeah, you can always steal some ideas from the book we have, and also you can use our books if you want for pre-primary students. Yes. So I will hand over my screen to Josh.
Hello. So thank you, Super, for the wonderful presentation. There we are. A lot of great insights, and it got me thinking about all the times that I've taught younger learners and had to manage those energy levels and kind of direct them into an activity after building them up. A reminder to our audience, to our participants, if you have any questions, you can feel free to type them into the chat and we will address them now. Let me share my screen again. And there we go. In the meantime, I've come up with some questions on my own that I was kind of inspired to write while watching the presentation. So if questions filter in, we'll address those, but we can start off with these. So Super, what I was thinking is...
Your slide, I think, is in presentation
Oh
mode.
no, my notes for everyone. Thank
Don't
you
worry.
for
So
that.
yeah, ask your questions though.
There we are.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, we don't need presentation mode anyway, so is it coming through okay now? Does it look normal?
Not sharing yet.
Oh dear. Sorry, folks. Let me reshare that again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, feel free to ask any questions you want about how to plan maybe primary lessons.
How about now?
Yes, it's good.
Okay, perfect. So,
Yeah.
let's pop over this. Oh, no, there we are. Still on questions. So, questions that I came up with. So the first one is going back to the warm-up activities at the start of the class. Of course, it's tough to, once they get going with the energy, it can get a bit chaotic with the pre-primary learners. What are some strategies that we can use if it's gotten to, critical mass, if it's gotten too chaotic? What are some strategies that we can use to bring it down a little bit before getting into the lesson? If it's just at a level of energy that's too high to really approach the material.
So as I introduced in the lesson plan, there will be some settling activities we can think of adding to that, like that bridging like time. So after warm up, you can take a look at your students' energy levels and thinking about if a settling activity is needed. So I find these like settling songs, like the yoga things, the stretching things, and also the mat. It's called like mindful moments, right? So the idea is we finish the warm-up activity. We ask the students to do these like movements, stretching movements to breathe, to focus on their body. Yeah, to think about to free up their mind actually, because they are quite excited, not like physically, but also in their like mental, right? They're thinking about words and everything. But it's good to have them to free up their mind, to calm down, to do these like stretching and activities, and together with these calms like music as well. Yeah, when you play that kind of music, the classroom atmosphere will gradually like cool down, and you can guide the students to follow you and to quiet down a little bit. So that is my suggestion for that.
That's great. Yeah, and I just remembered about the cool down activities. Certainly having them in our repertoire, very helpful in our toolkit, I should say. One more question relating to the phonics, because we mentioned, some of these phonics like are quite difficult to differentiate for young learners. I was thinking, so if there's an individual student who can't seem to get the sounds, how can we help them along without singling them out or making them feel like seen?
You mean feel the student feel like to be seen?
Oh,
They're struggling.
like exposed, like their mistakes see.
I think for the first round of introducing these sounds, we can allow students to the idea is not to threaten them, not to make them afraid of sounding out the sounds. We could be
Hmm.
more tolerate with the sounds,
Hmm.
even if they're not making the perfect pronunciation. We give
Yeah.
them as many opportunities as possible for them to try and practice. Yeah, we don't really correct errors like for
Got
this
it.
age group. Yeah. And after a certain amount of exposure to these sounds, if you find your students are still struggling with like maybe specific sounds, we could just spend extra time to practice the difficult ones and focus one at a time and allow students to do more noticing activities. But
Hmm.
we get it that students are not going to make perfect pronunciations. It's okay, I think, for some pronunciations to be not perfect, but we try
Hmm.
to focus on them from time to time. We give students more opportunities to practice to test these difficult sounds, yeah, to allow more repetition.
Yeah, absolutely. Prioritizing participation over, getting it right, especially early on.
Yeah.
Thank you. Still open for any additional questions if they filter in. But again, thank you for the wonderful talk. I will just jump forward in our slides here to remind everybody, like I said at the start of this session, that your feedback is very important. It helps inform how we structure our webinars and what our focus is for professional development. So please scan the QR code and we will share the link in the chat so that you can visit one of two ways to our survey and share your feedback both on this session and things that you would like to see in the future, as well as, challenges you face as a teacher, etc. Also, a goodie bag of teaching resources will be coming through to your email within the week, so keep your eyes peeled for that, along with the certificate of participation for today. So thank you for that. I'll leave that up for a moment if anyone just has to still scan.
Yes. We would
Okay,
like to hear from you very much.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And to plug my own session again, next Tuesday, if you are available, maybe you've signed up already, but another chance to register for my session next week, where we will be looking at global explorers for primary students. And we will be looking at focus to fun. So still that theme of managing the energy levels, but in next week's topic, we will be starting off with the grammar rules and then going from that to speaking confidently and using them confidently. So if you've ever struggled with getting your students to use the grammar rule or apply it in different contexts, this webinar coming up is for you. So I hope to see you there. Super and I will switch roles. She'll introduce me, and then I will give the webinar.
Yes. So looking forward to seeing you next Tuesday. And I'm very much looking forward to Josh's lesson planning masterclass as well.
It'll be great.
Yep.
Also, another reminder to, if you would like, if you want your voice heard, if you have experiences or insights to share from your ELT journey, you can sign up for our new voices, or submit, I should say, for our new voices campaign. The deadline for submission, a little abstract, and then a short video is July 28th. And then that will be for an event that will be happening in late September, September 23rd. So please check
Yes.
out that link. Oh, and we have another question. Maybe I can go back to it for Super if that's okay. But how can we help a student to remember a story?
Remember a story.
And thank you,
So
Faith. Oh, sorry.
repetition is definitely going to be the first
Mm,
thing for retention, right? So if we
mhm,
want the students to um, remember the story, we need to expose them to read with them and to review the story as much as possible, and also ask the students to watch the the story animation at home with their parents. Yeah, to watch the animation when there's a chance in the classroom. And also, I think another key is to build the connection with the story. Because if it's a random story the students don't like, they are not going to put much like emotion or like energy in it, right? So I think the key is we introduce the characters just
Mhm.
like the Disney characters, right? The kids will love the Disney characters. So in course books like Early Explorers, we have these Macro, Ruby, and Brenda as
Mhm.
characters, and they will
Mhm.
be everywhere. They are going to in the animations, in the stories. So we really hope to build that connection with the students so that they love these characters, so they feel connected with the stories and they would love to know more about these characters and they put their emotions into the stories. In that way, I think the stories will be more remember easy to remember. Yeah, the retention level will be higher. So yeah, that's
Yeah,
how.
absolutely. I visualize it like a hot air balloon, and there are different connections we can use to lash it onto the ground to stop it from floating away. Oh, that's wonderful. And continuing on, just a reminder to please follow us on our social media. You can follow any of these three QR codes for the various platforms. We have Facebook, WeChat, and RedNote here. And we share ELT news, insights about education, as well as information about upcoming events, webinars, professional development, etc. So please follow us there if you aren't already.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, and that's the end of it. I'm not sure if we have time for one more very quick answer, if that's okay, super. But one question came through from
Yeah.
Peter. Thank you, Peter. You could see it there, but he's a student, age 9, and he cannot recognize the alphabets yet. I assume like the sounds that they make, or like the images themselves. I guess not connecting it to the phonics properly.
I'm not sure if the student cannot identify the alphabets because he has not had enough exposure to it, or if
Ah.
he is struggling with like alphabet recognizing, because there could be different situations, right? So
Hmm.
we really need to see if with enough exposure, with enough practice, with like teachers help, if the students still have difficulty recognizing the alphabet,
Hmm.
what do we call that kind of student, Josh? Is there like a word that the student who cannot like really read? Is there a
Um,
possibility we need to diagnose, right?
I'm thinking of different words. Maybe dyslexia is a bit off,
Yeah,
but if it's some, obviously you hate to give the answer of it depends, but context is quite important
yeah,
here. But it seems that they
yeah.
can't differentiate between the images themselves. But tough to diagnose fully from here.
As a teacher. So if that is the case, we really need to seek for medical assistance. But if the teacher has spent time to exposure the students and support them gradually with letters and sounds and the visuals, yeah, we could see if the students is making progress. And also check the students like recognition of letters of their mother tongue because
Mhm.
for example, Chinese, we have the like alphabet for pinyin. So if the students has no difficulty like recognizing the alphabet in their mother tongue,
Mm.
yeah, we could compare like which like part is making the we can check if what's
Right.
causing the problem. Yeah.
Oh yeah, so yeah, definitely. And I remember Peter, you mentioned you're chiming in from Thailand, so maybe that insight of how well they can recognize the Thai alphabet could shed light on this situation. And
Yeah.
we've run a little bit over, but certainly worth it. So thank you so much again, Super, and thank you to everyone in our audience. Keep your eyes peeled on your email for the follow-up email with your goodie bag and certificate. And I hope to see you next week for our final of our summer webinar series, where I will be hosting the last one from Focus to Fun. So stay tuned for that. Hope to see you next week. Enjoy the rest of your evening and the rest of your week. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everyone.